President Trump on the White House North Lawn yesterday announcing a second summit with Kim Jong-un, which he says is likely to take place next month. The president spent more than 90 minutes this week with North Korea's lead negotiator, the regime's former intelligence chief. But there are still huge unresolved issues, like, for example, what the word denuclearization means. It seems to mean one thing in Washington and another thing in Pyongyang. Well, the news of this second summit comes just days after a big piece in the Washington Post about President Trump's approach to negotiations with another authoritarian leader, the extraordinary lengths he's gone to conceal the substance of his conversations with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Lee, let me start with you. 7 months have elapsed. It's gone quickly since President Trump sat down with Kim Jong-un in Singapore. What do you make of the announcement of this? There hasn't been a whole lot at the middle level. There were these meetings in Sweden over the course of the weekend with Steve Biegun, formerly of GM, who's now sort of heading up North Korea policy for the administration. But there really hasn't been a whole lot of real dialogue.
No, there has not. And, this meeting is not a surprise. We knew there was going to be a second one, but there's no sign that we're anywhere close to defining what mutually agreed upon denuclearization looks like. I mean, that is very far away. And so, again, I think this is about projecting the photo op and the theater and the fact that he's the one that can do a deal, even if it's not closer. This signals that it's getting closer to the people, or he thinks so. But I wonder if it's going to get not the impact he is expecting, because there is just too much else going on. I mean, between the allegations of the BuzzFeed story, between the shutdown. By the way, we haven't mentioned the FBI investigation into whether he.
Lest we forget.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much that's been happening. So I think the response is going to be muted.
Evan, to that point, I mean, this is advantageous for President Trump. It could be a distraction from all that Lee just mentioned. It's also advantageous for Kim Jong-un as well to sit down with the President of the United States yet again.
It's advantageous for President Trump politically with his base to say he's done something. It's advantageous for Kim Jong-un politically and geopolitically. Kim Jong-un is becoming a player on the world stage because Donald Trump's foreign policy when it comes to Kim Jong-un is hugs for thugs. He's rewarding bad behavior. When Donald Trump first came into office, I was actually very happy with what he was doing with respect to North Korea. He changed his attitude from other administrations and decided to start sanctioning Chinese banks and businesses that provided the economic lifeblood to this killer regime. And now he's not even doing anything to stop it. And when he met with Kim Jong-un in Singapore, they basically got the photo op. Kim Jong-un gave him nothing and got everything. And it's going to be the same thing again. And we heard Mike Pence earlier this week saying that North Korea is going out to hide their nuclear program. No, they haven't been doing more missile testing. They don't need to, because they have Donald Trump eating out of Kim Jong-un's hands. Donald Trump gets love letters. He talks about the love letters. It's like The Bachelor, but on geopolitical stupidity. And Donald Trump is elevating a regime that is a repressive regime, which has numerous human rights violations. When we used to stand up as a country against violations like that and say evil is evil, but now he wants to hug him. He thinks he's his best buddy, and I don't think this is right, and it's going to get us in a lot of trouble.
Christine, I was trying to dovetail two things here. That is the Washington Post reporting about how we don't know what Vladimir Putin and President Trump have talked about. You mentioned the love letters. It's the same thing here. We don't know the contents of those letters as well. Is it fair to draw the line between the two?
Right. I mean, we see how he talks about the president of the Philippines. We see how he talks about the new president in Brazil.
The hugs for thugs that Evan just said.
And the thing is, we do know one thing for a fact, which is any deals that Donald Trump makes will ultimately make Donald Trump more money at the end of the day, whether it's for his hotels, whether it's just in his pockets at some point in time. We have 40 years of evidence. Let's not pretend that just because he has the office of the presidency behind him that all of a sudden he has developed a moral conscience or some sort of non-scammer attitude. Like that's just not what it is. And so the problem is when we have someone like a Putin, where we know that Putin is very smart, we know that he's been working on relations with America, not in our best interest, for many, many years.
Smart and experienced.
Very experienced. I mean, he was in the KGB.
He led the KGB.
He led the KGB. There's a difference. A difference. You're right. I mean, similarly with George H.W. Bush when he led the CIA. Right? There is something to be said about that. And the fact that Donald Trump insists on secret meetings with Putin, insists on making sure that our our
notes
are gone. You know, there are no representatives there. I mean, this is something where your party should be outraged, right? I mean, the Democrats are ringing the alarm, but Republicans should say, we have never negotiated with foreign entities this way.
The Trump relationship is a different order than the Kim relationship. No
completely.
question.
At the risk of agreeing with Evan.
I mean, the Putin relationship.
Oh, no, the risk of agreeing with Evan, yes.
I agree with Evan.
Okay.
Put that on LinkedIn for me.
No. I said it on national TV already. But the reality is this. I think, you're right about North Korea, but I just want the basics. How many nuclear warheads do you have?
You want the numbers?
I want the numbers, just so we can start a discussion. If you don't have the numbers, how can you start that discussion? And with Putin, look for the House Dems to subpoena or hold hearings or do something on the people who were in the room with Putin on at least two of those occasions. One when he took the notes and directed them not to talk, and he's doing this at the demise of his own State Department, others who need to know. I mean, that's intelligence right there in that meeting. And so look for the Dems to either subpoena those interpreters or the notes or something and try to get to the bottom of this. Because I've always suggested in my discussions, just in this dialogue, that whether Donald Trump in those types of meetings, because he still owns his companies, right? He didn't put them in blind trust. Whether those private discussions are about his business deals or future or current, or whether it's about American foreign policy. And if he sold American foreign policy down the river for business deals, if you will, then that's not only problematic, it could be downright criminal.
Lee, I'll give you the last word here. To Christina's point just a moment ago, it's always about business. It's always about the economy with him. We saw that certainly in the case of Saudi Arabia as well, where he was so brazenly upfront about the fact that that's what was driving his administration's reaction to the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Do you see that as at play here as well? I was just thinking to your point about the State Department. I mean, there was that time that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo went over there to meet with Kim Jong-un, and he was left sitting in the lobby, never got that meeting. I mean, it's clear that nobody really knows what's going on.
Right. No, I think that's true. I mean, even in Saudi Arabia's case, by the way, the actual dollar size were not even what he was saying. I think
pulled him out of thin air and said, this is a lot of money, so it's okay that you killed this guy. We can get past that.
Yeah, but I think that everything has been said here, I would agree with. I mean, we just really, I don't think, should read too much into this at all.
And coming soon, Trump Tower, Pyongyang.
There we go. Hey, Scott Bolden, thank you very much. Christina Greer, Lee Gallagher, Evan Siegfried joining me here in New York. Thank you very much for being with me for the hour. In our next hour, how the president and